Hello students, this is Dr. John, your physics and math professor, coming to you with an extremely important video on the unit circle. In this video, I'm going to show you how to memorize or how to reproduce the sine, cosine, and tangent for 30, 45, and 60 degrees. The information I'm going to give you today is stuff that you're not going to get anywhere else. In many of your classes, you're going to be given this sheet with the sine, cosine, and tangent for 30, 45, and 60 degrees, and your teacher will ask you to memorize that. I think that's terrible. I'm going to give you a way to reproduce this same information, but extremely easily. So easily, it will feel like it's cheating to you. How did we get this information? First of all, the sine, cosine, and tangents for these values, we got that from a previous video where we used two different triangles to produce this, and now we're going to use this, and I'm going to show you how to put this onto the unit circle. So I've drawn two different unit circles. I've drawn the first quadrant here, and I've drawn the whole unit circle over here. As you can see, what I mean by a unit circle is the x value here, where it intersects, is 1, 0. Where it intersects here is 0, 1. That means the y value is 1, and the x value is 0, and over here. So you can see that the radius, everywhere here, this distance, the radius is equal to 1. Which means also, if you consider this to be a triangle here, then this would be the hypotenuse, which also equals 1. I've redrawn that over here with 30, 45, and 60 degrees, and I'm going to give you an example of how to find the sine and the cosine on a unit circle. So here we have a little triangle here drawn in orange, and let's say we're using this 30-degree mark here. I'm going to remake it here in black so you can see it, and you can see this angle here, this 30-degree angle. The sine of 30 degrees here is going to be the opposite, which is going to be the y value. I'll put the y value here. It's the y value on this circle, the y value right here, divided by the hypotenuse. And the hypotenuse is 1, so you don't even need that. That's the cool thing about the unit circle. The sine value of any of these angles is just equal to the y value. The cosine of 30 degrees here is equal to this x value, because it's the adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. So over here on this unit circle, each of these points here has an x and a y value. And the x value here, I'm going to draw them in like that. The x value will be the cosine of this angle. The y value will be the sine of this angle. And over here I have a unit circle with all four quadrants. If you notice over here, like I said, the x value and the y value, this is going to be the cosine. This is going to be the sine value of this angle right here. Well, what if we go to the angle over here? Let's say I'm using 30 degrees here. That means over here I would use 150 degrees, because the reference angle, remember we always do the reference angle, which is the amount of angle you come from the x-axis. So this here would be 30 degrees. Same with over here. If this is 180 plus 30, which is 210, the reference angle here would be 30 degrees as well. So what we're always looking at the reference angle, because notice here the x value and the y values are exactly the same over here. You could just fold this like a piece of paper this way, and the x value here would be transported directly over here. It's the same over here. And the y value also, you could put a dotted line there. You could fold it either way. You would have the same value as well. The only difference would be one of these might be positive, one might be negative. Over here, of course, the x and the y values are both positive. And over here, the x values are negative. The y value is positive. Over here, x and y are both negative. Over here, x is positive and y is negative. So over here, you would have the first one is the cosine. So the cosine over here would be negative and the sine would be positive. So let's say you wanted the sine, the cosine, and the tangent for 30 degrees. Now remember, we got from this chart the sine, cosine, and the tangent. I'm just going to rewrite this here from 30 degrees. So this value over here would be root 3 over 2. And the y value would be 1/2, just like that. And over here, let me rewrite that as well. So here I've now taken the y value and the x value, put them up there, which is the cosine and the sine. Here they're both positive, but over here the x value is negative. So I'll put a little negative side beside that. You can also work backwards from here. Let's say somebody tells you that the sine of some angle is equal to minus 1/2. You don't know the angle. The angle is unknown. You, of course, could punch into your calculator minus 1/2 and then take the arc sine function. That's going to only give you one of the answers. Your unit circle is going to give you all the answers. So what you say is, first of all, just look at the positive. What is the sine of, if the sine is equal to 1/2, the angle is 30 degrees. So that means you're talking about this 30 degrees, or this 30 degrees, or this one, or this 30 degrees there. There's 4 different options. We would need to look at, when is this negative? Well, notice it's negative here, and it's negative here. So the answer to this then is going to be, it's going to be 210, theta is going to be equal to 210. Or it's equal to this one over here, which is 360 minus 30, or 330. So your unit circle, in combination with the pluses and minuses, can work backwards or forwards. The last thing I'm going to do, which is the most important thing, the thing you won't get anywhere else, and remember, like and subscribe this video. It's going to really help me to make more videos. I'm going to create this for you in a really, really easy way, and a way that you will have memorized instantly. So when you come to a test, you'll literally create this really quickly, create these lines really quickly. You can write all these values in a matter of just a few minutes and then do your test. So let me just do this here for you. So now I'm going to give you this super fast method of memorizing this. All you have to do is think of two things. One is, remember that for these special angles, those are the only ones that you're going to have to sort of memorize, 30, 45, and 60, or any of the reference angles for those around the circle here. So all you have to remember is that in the denominator, there's usually a 2. Just remember that. And there's often a root in the numerator. If you remember those things, you can create this extremely quickly. So how would you create this as a 1 if you knew that it has to have a 2 in the denominator and a root in the numerator? Well, if this is root 4 over 2, then this becomes a 2 over 2, which is a 1. And this one, a root in the numerator, a 2 in the denominator, root 0 over 2. So I'm going to rewrite this one here as exactly that. So let me rewrite that one in blue. This one's going to be root 4 over 2, and this one's root 0 over 2. That's the cosine value and the sine value. And in a similar way, this one over here is going to be root 0 over 2 and root 4 over 2. So that's this one over here. So notice how there's a symmetry here. This one's root 4 over 2. They're switched though. The first one becomes the last over here. So all you do is count down. Instead of root 4 over 2, this becomes root 3 over 2, root 2 over 2, root 1 over 2, root 0 over 2. This one, count up, root 1 over 2, which you don't need the root, root 2 over 2, root 3 over 2. There you go. You have just memorized the sine and cosine values for 0, 30, 45, 60, and 90 degrees in the first quadrant of the unit circle. And remember, you can reproduce those just thinking that the sign is going to change, because over here, notice it's going to be negative and positive, and down here they're both going to be negative. So you just have to change the sign. If you know the reference angle, you can find the sine and the cosine for anywhere around the circle. This is it. That's how easy it is. They match this chart over here. You've just memorized this. So when you come to a test, quickly draw a unit circle, draw these points. This 45 cuts this in half, 30 and 60 cut this into the thirds each. Just draw it really quickly. You don't have to be too specific for exactly how it looks. Write these numbers out, write the angles in there. Later on, when you have it in radians, you can write the radians in there as well. I'm just doing this one in degrees just to keep it simple so you can do the unit circle. I hope that helps. If it does, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.